The macro data is completely changing right now, and people still don't see it. People still don't really understand what's happening right now. I really have to show you this. Before we continue, first of all, welcome friends. Thank you for tuning in again. And you know what to do. Like and comment. Especially in this tough market phase, I rely even more on your support. It's crazy what's going on here now. And it's becoming increasingly obvious how the whales and short money are sometimes fighting against each other. Here we saw, for example, that someone opened a $300 million Bitcoin short with a 40x leverage, which is just completely insane. Then Justin Sun came along and got involved with Binance and things like that with the market maker, and they wanted to specifically liquidate a huge whale, for example. And by now it should be clear to everyone. It's all just news now, and especially controlled by market makers. The market makers have been picking up certain pieces bit by bit lately. That's really crazy. And it's becoming increasingly obvious how the market makers are pushing the prices back and forth. It's especially interesting that we're seeing these kinds of news more and more often. Yeah, there's currently a Bitcoin short of 500 million with a 40x leverage, and now we're going to drop and stuff like that. And that's also deliberate manipulation, because everyone sees that everyone is thinking, okay, he knows more. Now I'm going short too, and we will definitely drop. And then the whale, for example, will close their position. And then the others get liquidated really quickly and stuff like that. It's really crazy how things are going here right now. But that's not the most important thing we need to talk about today, because there are definitely other things here. They need to be addressed here. For example, the FOMC Tron meeting. We have in 2 days, on the 19th, March, the FOMC meeting, and the thing is, we probably won't see any rate cuts. Well, not just probably, but pretty much for sure. Cuts. So not just probably, but pretty much for sure. We're 99% sure that we won't see any interest rate cuts here. But what's already priced in, so we don't need to worry about that. What's interesting, though, is what Jerome Powell will talk about there. Because Jerome Powell will clearly indicate a direction there, how things could progress, and that's going to be much more important than the actual interest rate decision. Because, as I said, nothing is going to happen with the rates. That's pretty clear by now, but if we look at May 7th or June 18th, May or on the 18th, June, their rate cuts will become increasingly likely, and that's really, really positive. And by now you can also see at Polymarket that we will definitely see quantitative tightening by May. People are betting 100% that we will see a quantitative easing in monetary policy by May, and that's really damn positive. This is really the complete turnaround that's happening in the USA now. Because we've had this tight monetary policy for years now, with these high interest rates. But we're starting to see a change, because you need to take a look at this. Since 2021, the money has been getting tighter and tighter bit by bit, and the capital has just been taken out of the markets. We haven't received any fresh capital here. No, the capital has actually been taken out of the markets. That's why we've had this tight monetary policy all along, and that's extremely dangerous. Just for the risk assets, you can also see that Bitcoin isn't performing at all. That's really because we're pursuing such a tight monetary policy, and I showed you in yesterday's video why Bitcoin hasn't really performed in the last few months. Bitcoin, sure, it has performed, definitely. But it was simply because we really saw an official report from JP Morgan that almost 30% of the Bitcoin increase happened solely because of MicroStrategy. And then, of course, a lot came from the Bitcoin ETFs. And you can see that all the institutions have really accumulated Bitcoin over the last year, but we haven't received any fresh new capital for the markets. Instead, all the money has been concentrated there because we've seen the biggest growth through MicroStrategy and the Bitcoin ETFs. That wasn't because we simply grew organically, it was because these institutions have a huge interest in Bitcoin and they really only have an interest in Bitcoin. It will definitely get interesting with an expansion of money, especially when we also see retail and so on. That definitely hasn't been the case so far like we saw in the previous years. Right now, only the big players have been actively accumulating Bitcoin. And they are really responsible for how well we've performed with Bitcoin. But as I said, that should come to an end by May. And from then on, we will see an expansion of the money supply again, which will boost our markets once more. This, of course, in combination with further interest rate cuts, because interest rate cuts are also extremely important. When we see interest rate cuts, we will also see an expansion of the money supply again, and so on. And that's it in the end. That's really much more positive than people imagine. And I think you can see that in the entire market right now. We're getting macroeconomically, we're slowly getting a certain clarity, because with the latest inflation numbers, we see that we're getting closer and closer. This target of 2%, that means the economy is doing fairly well. It no longer looks like a recession, it looks more like a soft landing. But we also see from the US with Trump and so on, They are very crypto friendly, so this sentiment, the foundation, it's growing every day in the crypto market. It's getting better every day, and people aren't factoring it in yet. But I can see what's happening in the background and understand some things, and accordingly, I'm currently buying certain altcoins as well. I'm still kind of thinking about some of them, like what I think of Chainlink. I got good prices, and it will definitely be pushed by the US government, and you just have to keep an eye on things like that. For example, it has come down very well, and that's really very, very interesting right now. Exactly in these market phases, you can slowly start to accumulate certain projects again, because it's slowly becoming clear what will really happen in the next weeks and months. And in this graphic, you can see that perfectly again. The people who are currently selling are the retailers who hold less than 1 Bitcoin. And we had exactly such a capitulation among retailers in the last bull run, in the last cycle, before it really escalated. There, people were panicking again, they were scared, and they sold, while on the other side, we saw the big whales continuing to accumulate. And I think you can see that well in this graphic. Here you can see, for example, in yellow, how the retailers who hold less than 1 Bitcoin are just selling off piece by piece, while we see that the people who hold over 100 Bitcoins have been buying in piece by piece. And that's a huge difference. The big money is buying in while the retailers are panicking. These are the clear things that just show me it can't be over yet. And these things just show me that we should really see another price explosion soon. Probably also with this positive thing that I just mentioned, that we will simply see a loose monetary policy in the next weeks and months in the USA. Just like we see on the other side, Donald Trump's company bought Avalanche worth $2 million this weekend, and also bought M&T worth $2.45 million. And that was just over the weekend. Why would Trump's company invest so aggressively in altcoins? You know exactly why. Because here you can see more than just the simple retailers. They still see a future here. They will, of course, push that forward. And in the end, they also have some control over what the Federal Reserve does, how interest rates will look in the near future. They have more insight into that. And I think they know more than we do. They know that in the long run, right now is definitely a good time to buy altcoins. Since I don't want to waste your time, that's it for this video for now. You know, I keep the videos short and to the point. That's why let's wrap this up. Thank you very much for watching. You know what to do. Leave a like and a comment on the video so it gets shared with as many people as possible. And then I would say until the next video. Bye.